Next, we will have our very own mayor of Elizabeth City, North Carolina, the Honorable Bettie Parker. She's going to bring us welcome and remarks. So let's give a round of applause for our mayor of Elizabeth City, Bettie Parker.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am immensely honored to stand before you this afternoon to bring you greetings on behalf of the city of Elizabeth City and to pay homage to those who have challenged before me, those whose shoulders I stand on. In today's celebration of Juneteenth, it is imperative that I mention the name Opal Lee. She is the 94-year-old activist from Fort Worth, Texas, who is often referred to as the grandmother of Juneteenth. Each year, for more than 40 years, Ms. Opal Lee made a 2.5 miles pilgrimage to commemorate the date in 1865, 2.5 years after Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, when more than 250,000 enslaved black people in Texas learned that they were finally free, marking the true end of slavery in America. This leads me to recognize another important woman who I salute for raising the awareness of Juneteenth in our community. River City Community Development Corporation, under the leadership of Dr. Lenora Jarvis Mackey, has held Juneteenth community celebrations since 2001. In fact, it was only during these celebrations that I first became aware of what Juneteenth was all about. I was never taught about it in school. So I am sincerely grateful that Dr. Jarvis Mackey recognized the importance of Juneteenth and persevered in sharing its history through annual celebrations like this one. So let's give her a hand. She is the one that brought it to the community, the one that I remember. Because as I alluded to earlier, I didn't know about Juneteenth. I'm just being honest. And there are a lot of other things I did not learn about African Americans and our plight while I was in school, because it was not in the history books. So I hope that we fight to make sure we get information that is relevant to our past. On May 10th, 2021, the members of the City of Elizabeth City Council received a letter signed by Keith Rivers, president of the Pasquotank NAACP, and Dr. Lenora Jarvis Mackey of River City CDC, indicating a collaborative partnership between the Pasquotank County branch of NAACP and River City Development Corporation, requesting that an ordinance be filed to make Juneteenth an official citywide holiday and to make that day a paid holiday for city employees. The members of the City Council voted unanimously to grant their request, and a subsequent ordinance was unanimously approved on May 24, 2021. The City of Elizabeth City is at least one step ahead of the federal government. It was just this past Tuesday, June 15th, that the U.S. Senate followed suit and voted unanimously to declare Juneteenth a federal holiday in which employees will have the day off with pay. On Wednesday, June 16th, the U.S. House of Representatives voted 415 to 14 in favor of making Juneteenth a federal holiday. Now, why the 14 did not vote along with the 415, that is yet to be known. but they're your House
Because they're racist
representatives up
motherfuckers.
there in Washington. Somebody needs to ask these folk, why did you vote against it? The Senate was unanimous in voting for Juneteenth as a federal holiday. And of course, the majority in the House, with Nancy Pelosi, voted 415, which is the majority, but there were 15 who did not vote in favor of it. And if I were you all, I would, you have your iPhones, you have computers, you need to go on there and see those faces and ask some questions. The following day, after the House voted, President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, now a law of the land. So let's give him a hand for getting that signature on so that our employees, the city employees, were able to take advantage of the federal holiday on yesterday. We look out for our city employees and we listen to our activists and our community leaders. This is a huge accomplishment. In 1 year, we were able to get the federal holiday approved by Congress. This is the first time in nearly 40 years that a new federal holiday is enacted. The last one was being the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday in 1983. 38 years ago, many of you were not even born then. But we are very grateful for the expediency that they used in getting this passed within the same week in three consecutive days. At this time, I would like to present the official Elizabeth City Juneteenth ordinance to Dr. Lenora Jarvis Mackey and Mr. Keith Rivers. I would like for them to come forth so that I can read it and turn it over to them. The ordinance is number 05-03. Ordinance to amend and designate Juneteenth as an official paid city holiday, as recognized in Section 1, Title 4, Leave Provisions, Holidays of the City of Elizabeth City Personnel Policy. Whereas Juneteenth is the oldest recognized celebration observing the freedom of African Americans from slavery in the United States, and serves as an historic milestone reminding Americans of the triumph of the human spirit over the harshness of slavery and the basic civil right of freedom and equality for all. And whereas the celebration honors those 11.5 million African Americans who survived in chains the voyage to the Americas, as well as the millions who did not survive. And whereas the Emancipation Proclamation was issued on September 22nd, 1862, with an effective date of January the 1st, 1863, but it had minimal immediate effect on the majority of enslaved people who remained in captivity and oppressed by slave owners. And whereas on June 19, 1865, Union General Gordon Granger and 2,000 federal troops arrived in Confederate-controlled Texas to take possession of the state and to enforce the emancipation of the enslaved people therein. And whereas 2 years, 5 months, and 18 days after Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, the last of those enslaved within the borders of the United States were freed. And whereas the word Juneteenth became the name for the joyous celebration of freedom from slavery as a result of combining June 19th together in speech. And whereas Juneteenth is celebrated in more than 205 American cities and is officially recognized by 46 states, including North Carolina, which became the 26th state to recognize it in 2007, whereas it is not enough for the city of Elizabeth City to enjoy marches and other events celebrating Juneteenth, Elizabeth City must recognize Juneteenth as an official city holiday, which will help support the campaign to recognize Juneteenth as a national holiday. And it has happened within the last week, beginning Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But mind you, Elizabeth City had this ordinance ready on May 24th. Whereas, by making this effort, Elizabeth City can serve as a symbol and vessel that pushes this campaign forward. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Elizabeth City hereby ordains that June 19th be designated as an official holiday in Elizabeth City, and thereby being added to the paid legal holidays for all qualified city employees. Adopted this the 24th day of May 2021, Betty J. Parker, Mayor, and April Only, City Clerk. So let's have a round of applause for Mr. Rivers, Mr. Keith Rivers, and Dr. Lenora Jarvis Mackey for soliciting this ordinance, and for the City Council complying. Thank you very much, and y'all have a beautiful day. You want me to get a